Here in the Midwest, we have two kinds of ragweed, and I want to show you how to identify them and give you a couple tips maybe on how to get rid of them if you are a ragweed hater. But if you are a ragweed sufferer, listen on, because you may not want to get rid of them just quite yet. Trick, of course, with any problem is first to identify what the source of your issues are. And here we are in the Midwest. We're in late summer going into fall, and everybody wants to blame the goldenrod. And of course, it's not goldenrod that's giving you your allergies. Goldenrod has heavy, dense pollen that's going to drop to the ground and won't go airborne. But this friend here is definitely going to cause allergies. This is giant ragweed. This is Ambrosia trifida. Now, all of the plants that are getting ready to grow, or a lot of the plants that are getting ready to bloom at this time of year, are in the Asteraceae family. So the sunflower family. This one is in there as well. And we can identify it by these very specialized flowers. This is it. It is green. And it's in between all of these little flakes, you'll see just the tinge of yellow. And so that is the flower, and it's getting ready to open up and drop. We'll put all of that pollen into the air. Ambrosia trifida has some identifying very large leaves. And usually some of my students, when they first get started, they get excited and think this is sassafras. But it is not woody. It does have variable leaves like sassafras. So here we have a double mitten. Up here we have the, let's see, it would be the left mitten. And then it also has these straight, here we go, straight blade leaves. We're gonna note on the stem that it is fuzzy, if I can get the right focus from my phone. Doesn't know what to focus on. You can just see up there top, it is fuzzy, and this is rough. It's like a cat tongue. If you walk through a patch of these, it's going to irritate your skin, and this is where some people get contact dermatitis. So this is, let's see, this is about 5'8" maybe, and this one's up to 6 foot. They do get really tall and they grow in patches. And then the other ragweed that we have, and I'm about to say common ragweed that we have, is actually common ragweed. And this one, you can see it's growing in a nice big stand here for me. And this is Ambrosia artemisiae. And we know the Latin name gives us a hint as to what we're looking for in shape. And this looks a lot like an artemisia, but it is not. It's a ragweed. We have these really dentated or deeply lobed leaves, and they do have teeth on them. They also have a little bit of purple in the stem, you'll see, and very hairy, and they have the same flowers. And these are all going to bloom about the same time. They are, once they start blooming, that's when they're going to start torturing everybody. And so if we want to take them down, that's the time. We want to get them down before they start to cause problems for your family. And I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like, and then how maybe we could get rid of them and why we might not want to at first. If you want to make anything useful out of the ragweed, right about now in the development is when you would pick it. So you don't want, it's not going to be at its most potent once the pollen is all dropping. So that's a convenient way to remember that you want to cut it down now just before that happens, and make any kind of remedies that you want out of the ragweed so that you're not suffering. But I will say, before I get into what you can do with it, you do need to let something of these ragweeds go to seed if you want to get rid of them. the best way really is. And you can fight it and pull it, but likely it's in the seed library on your farm, and it's going to come up anyway. So the fastest way to get rid of it is going to be to ash with it. So you're going to need to pick one of these specimens, maybe far away from where your house is, and let it go to seed so you can collect those seeds, and then burn them, mix them with sand, and drop them where you don't want the ragweed to grow, to overwinter, and that will bring the soil up to speed so that it doesn't need to grow the ragweed anymore. But for the rest of us who aren't, I don't really trouble with ragweed. We have a lot of it on the farm, and I just deal with it every year. We cut it down with machetes, and some of it we take in to add to our first aid closet. And so right now, just before the pollen is dropping, is the perfect time to grab these leaves. Really, anything above ground is game. I just find that it's easier to chop up the really small stems at the end of the growing length and the leaves. When I first started studying ragweed, I kind of have been on this exploration of all of the weeds in my yard, and it was right coincidentally. We say there aren't any coincidences in our house, but at the same time, my son was having a big allergy attack. He was pretty young. I think he was probably 6 or 7, and he was sneezing and wheezing, and the average, or the common way that this attacks is really red eyes and congestion, because it causes the nasal passages to swell. And you sneeze and you wheeze, and your chest hurts, and you have lots of drowsiness because you're not getting as much oxygen. And he was really struggling. And at the time, I was writing online for Hobby Farm magazine, and so I had a weekly podcast, or I had a weekly blog that I had to turn in. So I was just exploring research for everything in the yard, and I was reading, and finding all of this fascinating stuff about this plant that people love to hate. And I came across this entry in a book that I was reading that said, if you chew a ragweed leaf at the same time as you're having an allergy attack, it will immediately counter that. And that was very intriguing. And of course, my scientific brain said I needed to test that out, because I had a test case here in the house. And I ran out and grabbed a leaf and handed it to my son, my very trusting son. And I said, chew this. And he did. And he immediately stopped sneezing. And I was sold on ragweed right away. I knew that there was something more in here. And of course, we do see that ragweed is one of those plants that cause the problem, but also have within their tissues the ability to solve the problem. And in fact, the ragweed, both of them, and they can be used interchangeably, both have a pretty good content of quercetin. And quercetin may be something that you're familiar to hear about in like red wine. And we know that it is has anti-inflammatory properties. And we're also seeing that it has anti-allergenic properties. And so this is something that I have suggested students for years, tincture a little bit of it here in the fall or late summer, and bring it into your larders so that you have it for next year. It is going to work. It'll work for most allergies. My understanding is that adding goldenrod would help with more of a pet allergy, but you can just do this straight. We talked the other night with my students and I about ways to combine more things in a tincture and make it a more well-rounded tincture. If we just do ragweed, it's called a simple. If we add more of a combination, it's going to be a compounded tincture. And I would add things that are highly anti-inflammatory. I might put nettle in there for its antihistamine And I might put things with high beta carotene because we know that vitamin A can help in an allergy attack as well. But so we can gather this as we're chopping it all down on our farms. We can gather a little bit and make, I mean, if you make a quart for a family of 4, that's going to last you well into the next year. You don't have to make huge amounts of this unless you're making it for your community. The other thing that we can do is, this is great to stop bleeding. So if you're out and you're working and you cut yourself and you're near a ragweed, this is something that you could crinkle up and put over the wound to stop bleeding. The other thing that I will tend to gather up for my community is ragweed is anti-inflammatory, and I forgot to look. I'll make a note at the bottom of this video if I find it, but we do see that this has clinically been successful at helping with inflamed veins, so particularly with hemorrhoids. This plant has the ability to reduce that inflammation and reduce the swelling of a vein like that. And it could have rutin in it. A lot of our plants that we can use for hemorrhoids or swollen veins have that compound, but I haven't had a chance to look. If I needed that, if I had somebody in my community or my family that struggles with hemorrhoids a lot, I would infuse this into oil, and I would keep that oil around to either make into a salve or a cream that could be easily applied, or I could just use the oil itself. I would use extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil would make a nice, if you were going to make suppositories. Infuse it into that and keep some of this around for that problem. And then compost the rest, because this is going to have a lot of vitamins and minerals and other beneficial phytochemicals that are going to help with the soil. You might compost it, chop it, and put it right back down onto the soil. That's going to help too if you want to get rid of it, because of course those nutrients are what the plant is designed to pull, and as soon as the soil heals from those issues, it's not going to grow ragweed anymore. So if we chop it up and put it right back down on, or create a compost tea or something with ragweed, we're going to help the soil in that way as well. So ragweed is something that people really love to hate, but if you start studying like I have, if you start to study everything that humans have told you to distrust or hate in nature, generally you're going to find that there is so much benefit in that plant, and we don't have the knowledge to vilify things. Everything in nature is good. Everything has been designed with a purpose. It's all supposed to be there. And so if we open our mind a little bit past what we've been told and explore something that seems to be a problem, we usually will find, haven't been proven wrong yet, you usually will find that it's something that would be really useful in your family, and that there is a way to work with it. Ragweed is no exception. I love ragweed, and we actually allow it to grow because it has a purpose on our farm. See you next time.